Hello, you're listening to Trusting God at All Times, a daily devotional from Peakland United Methodist Church in Lynchburg, Virginia. My name's Linwood Campbell, and I'm the Director of Worship and Outreach. On the second Monday of the month, I go over to Westminster, Canterbury to play for the Catholic Mass service that starts at 4 p.m. I was preparing to go out the door from church when I discovered that there was not a devotional ready for the next day. That being today, Tuesday, November 9, 2021. By this time, everyone was just about gone, and I was going to be late for Mass if I didn't get going, so out the door I went. Mass started, and I played the opening hymn and then settled in behind the piano, waiting for the next time I would play, which would be during their time of communion. I will confess that at times my mind might wander a bit, but I had heard Deacon Chris one other time and figured he might have something interesting to say. Not that the other deacons or priests don't have interesting things to say. So, Deacon Chris used Luke 17 as the basis for his homily today. It's about having the faith of a mustard seed. With that, you could move a tree from one place to another. And he told a story about his son and his own wife planting gardens, each approaching the task in a different way. His son was using all the latest chemicals to accelerate the growth of his garden, while Deacon Chris's wife was approaching her garden the more natural way. Compost, leaves, mulch, manure, the old-fashioned way. And while there was some lively debate about whose garden might be more successful, they agreed to disagree. Now, the story continued on a bit, but I stopped right there. That got my attention. The part about agreeing to disagree. It made me think about another passage in the Bible that says when two or more are gathered together, God is there with them. That took me back to this morning in our staff meeting. To set the scene for that, so to speak, this past Sunday I had some ham radio friends visiting the church. They were traveling through and planned to stop, attend church with us, and then we would have lunch with some more ham buddies that lived fairly close by. My friends actually attended 2 services. Gluttons for punishment, I suppose. But by the end of the last service, one of my friends was not feeling well. It turns out she's been having some health issues over the past few years and was having some difficulty that morning. But she continued on with the lunch plans, and after lunch they headed back to where they were staying, which was about an hour and a half away. By Sunday night, she had been taken to the emergency room at the local hospital. They kept her overnight, and late this morning, they discovered the root of the problem. Some procedures were done, and as of this writing, which is Monday night the 8th, she's resting comfortably, making steady improvements. So, the scene is set. This morning at the end of our meeting, we always stop and go over the joys and concerns from the previous day. Although nothing had been said about my friend during either service, I added her name to our prayer list. I gave the staff the details during our prayer time, and we talked about the other requests we had gotten. And then Pastor John prayed. Well, not only did he pray for my friend, but he prayed that the doctors, the nurses, whoever might be taking a part in trying to figure out what was wrong with her, that our Heavenly Father might guide the search, guide the hands of those looking over her, that they might find out just what was wrong. And they did. Now, as a quick side note, I believe that God hears all of our prayers. He answers them in ways we don't always know, though. Matter of fact, I think that's the case most of the time. We may not see how he handles things, but he handles them in a way that makes sense to him because, hey, he sees the bigger picture. And as it turns out today, his answer was one we had hoped for, one we had prayed for. So as I look back on the events of today, I reflected on our prayer time this morning and the homily I heard this afternoon. Now, as another side note, I selected the hymn We Gather Together to ask the Lord's blessing to play during their quiet time. Now, I don't know that I really thought about it being anything more than, hey, well, Thanksgiving's close by. But now that I think about it, I believe it was more of a thanking God for his speaking to me through the homily I heard this afternoon about agreeing to disagree And the good news from my friend that I got right after Mass was over. Literally. I had just finished the last note of the last hymn when my phone buzzed with the good news. For me, today was one of those God kind of days. Well, for God, it's just all in a day's work. Blue skies, my friends, blue skies.